final campaign comment before this nation votes, with thanks for the technical inspiration to David Letterman's producers and thanks for the technical accomplishment to my producer, Brendan O'Melia. I ask you to imagine an alternative universe where the candidates are the same, but what each has said and done has been reversed. What would be happening tonight if Senator Obama had stumbled over everything from arcane details to sweeping policies of the utmost importance, and not just once or twice, but endlessly? What if Senator Obama couldn't tell Iran from Iraq, Iraq from Afghanistan, Sunni from Shia, Somalia from Sudan? What if Senator Obama had gotten up before a crowd and started off by saying, you know, I think you may have noticed that Senator McCain supporters have been saying some pretty nasty things about Western Pennsylvania lately, and who then finished by saying,
I could not agree more. I could not disagree with him more. But I could not agree more with the explanation that Senator McCain offered a few weeks ago.
What would we be asking ourselves about his capabilities if it had been Senator Obama who had identified General David Petraeus as the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, and Vladimir Putin as the president of Germany, and Spain as a country in Latin America? What if it had been Senator Obama who not only used his POW experience at every turn, but wrote of giving to his captors not the names of his fellow servicemen, but of the offensive line of the Green Bay Packers football team, only to, when he spoke in Western Pennsylvania, change the story so that he gave to his captors the names of the offensive line of the Pittsburgh Steelers football team? What if it had been Senator Obama who, out of nowhere, had blurted out an inexplicable, perhaps Freudian slip, while intending to say, my fellow Americans?
To Chairman Dean and my great friend Dick Durbin, and to all my fellow prisoners, I accept your nomination for presidency of the United States.
What would be happening tonight in the minds of tens of millions of voters if it had been Senator Obama who had his people negotiate behind the scenes and off the record to force favorable coverage of his campaign at 3 television networks? Or if it had been Senator Obama repeatedly mocking a research study about the DNA of bears until he was suddenly reminded he had voted for it? Or if Senator Obama had an advisor who claimed that Senator Obama's work on a subcommittee had led to the invention of the BlackBerry? Or if Senator Obama had tried to get one of the presidential debates postponed or canceled and threatened to boycott another one of them, the town hall, because he didn't like the network the moderator worked for, all the while complaining that the other guy would not debate him or agree to 10 town halls. What would be happening tonight in America, in the souls of this nation, if after all that, at the first debate, it had been Senator Obama who would not as much as look at Senator McCain, and when finally addressing him at the second one, did so in a weird and cryptic manner?
If we could have intervened effectively in the Holocaust, who among us would say that we had a moral obligation not to go in? That one.
What would a country heading into the most important vote in its modern history be thinking tonight if it had been Senator Obama who viewed a collapsing economy and insisted that if in office, he would fire immediately the head of the SEC, even though a president cannot, and then the next day tried to correct himself by calling on the head of the FEC to resign? What if it had been Senator Obama who on September 24th had, quote, suspended his campaign so he could focus only on the cratering economy just 9 days after having insisted that there was little wrong?
The truth is that the fundamentals of the economy are strong. We were just suffering from a mental recession. You nation of whiners.
Where would America's collective head be tonight if it had been in the middle of a campaign in part focused on elitism and celebrity and personal wealth, if Senator Obama, who could not remember or would not admit how many houses he owned?
How many houses do you have?
You know, I think that's a good question to address to my staff. I mean, you'd have to ask my staff.
What if Senator Obama had deflected all serious questions about the troubled finances of this worried nation by virtually concocting a preposterous everyman, a fictional character, a plumber without a license, a small businessman who owned no business, an average Joe who had a lawyer, a book agent, a publicist, and maybe a recording contract?
I would love to see the next 3 weeks devoted to talking about Joe the plumber, who is an American hero.
It's not true.
It absolutely is true.
What would the national psyche be like tonight if it had been Senator Obama who had sung a mocking song about bombing Iran? What would be happening if Senator Obama had accepted the endorsement of Pastor John Hagee or Pastor Rod Parsley, or had a running mate who attributed their big break in politics to the laying on of hands by a minister who began his career in Kenya by slandering a woman as a witch and hounding her out of her home? What would we be thinking if it had been Senator Obama who at a critical moment exaggerated a public claim about the suspension of his campaign and lied to a national television figure about it? And what if it had been Senator Obama who had been somehow nominated by his party anyway, months and months ago, even though it had been he who had not reproached the use of the rankest of sexist terms in public about Senator Hillary Clinton?
So I'm going to call on this young lady right here.
How do we beat the bitch?
I'll have that stick.
We all know exactly what would be happening tonight if Senator Obama had done all those mistakes, contradictions, gaffes, Freudian slips, and hypocritical pronouncements. He would have long since ceased to be taken seriously by any measurable part of the voting public as a viable, responsible, self-aware, mentally vigorous, non-dangerous, non-risk. We'd all be going home to our beds well before midnight tomorrow night. But while all that is hypothetical, this is not. This cascade of incompetence and irresponsibility I've enumerated here tonight, all the sound bites, all the foot and mouth moments, all the no-brainers gone wrong, all these John McCain has said. No hyperbole and no hypotheses are required. This is who John McCain has showed us he is. That's countdown for this, the 2014th day since the declaration of mission accomplished in Iraq. The reminder, our primetime election coverage tomorrow at 5 Eastern. Chris Matthews and I host, along with anchor David Gregory. I'm Keith Olbermann. Good night and good luck.